Hello, history students. We're going to do an overview of the Great Depression, and I'm going to do my best to keep it under 6 minutes, so let's get right to it. Okay, so the Great Depression happens after the 1920s. It's from 1929 to about 1941. So what caused the Great Depression? Basically, farms and businesses produced too many products they could not sell. Farms and businesses could not pay their expenses. If they can't pay their expenses, that means they can't pay their workers. So what this whole idea is called is overproduction. Also, consumers bought too many products on credit. They couldn't pay back their loans. Okay? So basically what happens is they have so much credit they can't buy more stuff anymore, and they can't pay back the stuff that they promised they would pay for. So consumers stop buying products, so businesses lose money. So businesses have already started overproducing, as we went over on the last slide, and now it's saying that consumers are having a harder time buying stuff because they're using too much credit and they can't pay for it. Another cause was people over-speculated on stocks. What that means is basically they guessed which stocks were going to do well and which ones weren't, instead of doing research. So the bigger problem was that they were also buying stocks, quote, on the margin. And basically what this means is that they're borrowing money to buy stocks. So they're guessing at which stocks they're going to buy, so they're not always buying good ones, and they're borrowing money to buy stocks, which is very dangerous because stocks are very unpredictable. So eventually the stock market crashes, and this causes a lot of stress on the economy as a lot of banks start to struggle and individuals lose fortunes. Here are some people trying to get money out of their bank. Some of the banks started to fail, and the Federal Reserve, which is basically the U.S. government's personal bank, it's the bank that banks go to, didn't stop the collapse of the banking system. So the Federal Reserve allowed the banks to start failing, and about more than 1/3 of the banks in the United States failed during the Great Depression, which is a huge problem. So here's a quick look at how the Federal Reserve works. In the 1920s, the Federal Reserve made all kinds of money. And what the Federal Reserve did was they gave these monies out to banks. Banks then gave money to businesses who could then buy products, hire workers, and do the things that businesses do. Workers got paid. After the stock market crashed, after things started getting bad, the Federal Reserve realized they had made a mistake. They had printed too much money and made money too easy to get. That's part of the reason why people are being so irresponsible. So, during the 1930s, the Federal Reserve decided to give out less money. So, they gave less money to the banks. The banks didn't have enough money to give to companies, and companies then had no money, so they had to fire workers. Businesses began to close, and the Federal Reserve made the problem worse. As businesses closed, banks also started closing, and the Federal Reserve did not stop the collapse of the banking system. The final major cause of the Great Depression is high tariffs. Tariffs are taxes on products from other countries. What the tariffs do if they're too high is that stops other countries from trading with each other. So, here's a quick look at some different products: shirts, cameras, radios, telephones. It doesn't matter what it is, but basically these products are coming from other countries, from the outside into the U.S. So the U.S. puts these tariffs up, and suddenly no one wants to buy products from other countries. The problem is other countries started putting high tariffs on things that American businesses were trying to sell overseas. So this slowed down international trade, which means business done around the world. So those were the causes. Now we're going to look at the impact of the Great Depression on American lives. A large number of banks and businesses failed. 1/4 or 25% of workers were without jobs. That means they were unemployed. Large numbers of people were hungry and homeless, and farmers' income fell to low levels. There's 1/4 unemployment. A famous picture of hungry and homeless migrants. So, the New Deal. This man, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was elected president, and he created a plan called the New Deal. The New Deal was a series of programs that was designed to help people and to end the Great Depression. Social Security gave money to the elderly, disabled, and dependent children. Farm assistance programs were set up where the government bought food from farmers to raise food prices. Unemployment was still a problem, so the federal work programs, the U.S. government hired people to work on infrastructure. They also started environmental improvement programs where the U.S. hired people to work on parks and city beautification. The big part of the federal works programs and environmental improvement programs was it immediately put people back to work right then. For the first time, the federal government increased their support for organized labor or unions. And that's the major points of the New Deal. So that's a basic overview of the Great Depression in under 7 minutes. Good luck on your test.